Good afternoon, David.
What's good about it?
Well,
Yeah.
for a start, you get to see me. What merch did you ask for?
Oh, fucking wonderful, right? Thank you guys for
Thanks very
doing.
much for your enthusiasm, dear boy.
Uh,
Right, let's take this deluded person down. We left that there, folks, so that you can see the happy images of this woman as she left number 11 Downing Street yesterday to deliver a big bloody hammer blow to the least of us. We will get to Rachel Reeves. We've got other issues to cover first, but we'll get to Rachel Reeves. But as I said this morning, deluded, no, that's an incorrect statement. She's no deluded, she's deranged and dangerous.
Yeah.
That's what she is. Deranged and dangerous.
At one time, believe it or not, guys, and put my hands up to it, I used to be a Labour voter. That was when I lived in England, right? And there was some bits of Labour you went, right, okay, because at the time we were up against Maggie Thatcher, if you remember, right? Okay. When I moved to Scotland, that's when I took up the SNP. But I do not recognise this Rachel Reeves as being any part of any Labour Party that I recognise from back in the days, right? And far less I'd see her as the Chancellor. She is just like an ugly, ugly person.
Right, we'll get to it. Right, now, folks, and David, so you know, that's the £750 out the door for this month. The money went to the Coatbridge Community Food Bank, it went to Baby Bank Scotland, and it went to the Wee Lanarkshire Mobile Food Bank. Now, the Wee Lanarkshire Mobile Food Bank is actually a misnomer when it comes to its name, because it now covers the whole of Glasgow as well as the whole of Lanarkshire.
Yeah.
So, if you phoned up and you need an emergency food parcel, these people will jump in their transport and come to your home. Anywhere across the central belt, more or less, at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's where the money went, folks. So £750, thanks to you guys, are out there to help alleviate poverty in Lanarkshire and the wider central belt.
The food banks are going to get terribly, terribly busy, or much, much busier than they are now, if we don't manage to mitigate what Reeves has brought upon us.
Thanks, Doug. I forgot to get Facebook on board. I better go on with it.
Yeah.
We just need to catch up in the first couple of minutes.
That's all right.
Right, that's Facebook on board, David.
Excellent.
Okay, it's at Two Davies on the 27th of the 3rd, 2025. And as you know, folks, I was a wee bit out of sorts myself this morning. David's not feeling any better. I'm no surprised. Him and I have got similar views on this stuff. And,
I'm sorry. I really am.
I saw my David. And, but let's start. We're going to start a sad story today, folks. And that is Scottish Government Minister Christine McKelvey succumbed to cancer and passed away this morning in the Glasgow Royal Infirmary. Now, Miss McKelvey, who was 57, stood down from her duties as the Drugs and Alcohol Minister last June to undergo intensive cancer treatment on secondary breast cancer. She first had breast cancer in 2021 and get the all clear after the first round of treatment, went into remission. And in June 2024, got diagnosed with secondary cancer. She stood down for her duties in June/August 2024, where she entered into intense treatment. But unfortunately, she has lost her battle with cancer, age 57. Now, her partner, Keith Brown, Deputy Leader of the SNP and MSP, says that she was a lovely, bubbly person that lit up any room she walked into. And I have to say that any time I met Christina, she always had a smile on her face.
Yeah.
She was always a nice, warm woman.
Look,
You know?
it's a tribute I'll give to very, very few people, but we stand on the shoulders of giants, and I count Christina as being one of them.
Aye, aye. And as I say, now Christine first entered Parliament in 2007 as a list MSP for the Central region.
Yeah.
She then went on to win her constituency seat of Hamilton, Blackhall and Stonehouse in 2011, where she continued to serve up until her death.
Duncan, thank you very much, Duncan. That's 20 times. I'll read it. He said, "Hi lads and lasses, still struggling, or hi lads still struggling after operation, but getting there slowly. Tuned in this afternoon, hoping for a right good rant. R.I.P. Christie."
I don't know if I've got a rant in us, to be honest, Duncan. It's just knocked the fucking wind right out of me.
No, to be honest, I can't pick up the thread from either. I can't all rant.
Anyway, the Scottish Parliament also paid tribute to her today, where MSPs who knew her were choking back tears. And that was MSPs for all parties, because apparently she was well liked across the Parliament.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, our thoughts go to her family and our children and our grandchildren. And all thoughts of a by-election have been put in the back burner now to the Parliament because of the shock.
Yeah.
All right. Right, let's move on. Some good news here in Scotland, which was turned into bad news by the unionist press and the mainstream media. But we'll get to the contributing factors at the end of this bit. Right, child poverty in Scotland falls, but it falls short of interim targets. The Scottish Government and the Scottish Parliament set themselves a target of getting child poverty down to, thanks John, it's no much, it's a lot, mate.
Yeah.
I know it's no much, but here's some money from food banks. They would be needing this more than me.
John, don't forget, we see you putting in practically every day. You know, you're something that £5 a year, and honestly, man, it's like what you're putting in is fantastic.
And you're right, they would be needing this more now, thanks to the evil Thatcherite from the Red Fascist Party. Please give what you can, plus R.I.P. Christina. Thanks very much, John. Right, anyway, the targets that were set were to get relative poverty 18% and absolute poverty to 14%. But relative poverty fell to 22% here in Scotland, and that's 9% less than in England, where relative poverty, child poverty, stands at 31%. And absolute poverty in Scotland fell to 17%. From 21%.
Now, David, what you got to remember is this is before Rachel. I'm talking about England here. This is before Rachel Reeves' idiocy hits England. Seriously, it's like these children that are in absolute or relative poverty. It's like you wait and you see the English figures. They'll go sky high.
Well, anyway, at the moment, relative absolute poverty in Scotland stands at 17%. In England, it's 25%, so 8% higher in England. But as we know, the Scottish Government have been trying their best to eliminate child poverty. And they have been taking mitigating factors like more free childcare, feeding primary school children, taking away the transport costs for parents for children getting to school with free bus travel, and of course the most important one, the child uplift. But what hasn't helped it, and the reason why they didn't make their target this time, has to do with the change of administration in Westminster. Labour said that they would get rid of the two-child cap, and then got in and said, no, we're not getting rid of it. And that has put an extra 200, keep this number in your head, folks, it's important later. This has put 250,000 more children in the UK this year, this calendar year, into poverty. Right? That's 250,000 more that Rachel Reeves and Sir Keir Starmer have consciously shoved into poverty. Now, 25,000 of them will be Scottish children. And when you take it across the statistics we're looking at, that 25,000, if they weren't, if the two-child cap had disappeared, the Scottish government wouldn't have just met their quota, they'd have probably surpassed it, their interim targets. Now, the actual target, although John's aim is to eradicate it, the actual target is to get relative poverty down to 10% and absolute poverty down to 14%. They're the actual targets. Progress has been made in getting there. Child poverty is down again this year compared to last year, or 2024 compared to 2023, sorry. And the reason for that is the increase in the child uplift here in Scotland. As I say, but the reason why they didn't meet their interim figure was because of the extra 25,000 children thrown under the bus by the Westminster administration. That Scotland's per capita share is the 250,000 children that Rachel Reeves and Sir Keir Starmer consciously put into poverty by keeping the child cap. Okay,
and a wee bit on it is, people of Scotland, wherever you are, think about what you're doing. We need independence. Badly need independence. Welcome to a republic of an independent republic of Scotland. Would be a wonderful board to put up at the border.
Anyway, will these figures to continue to fall next year? We don't know, because we know that another 5,000 children are about to be thrown into poverty because of Rachel Reeves' latest dabble in the welfare state.
And whatever else she's going to put in the meantime. After this,
we'll not get anything new until we get the actual budget in the autumn.
The headlines I saw just before coming on there was that Rachel Reeves is still looking for another 1.8 million.
1.8 billion, that's right.
Billion.
This falls short.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I say, the latest measures will throw another 5,000 Scottish kids into poverty.
Yeah.
And that's going to skew the figures for next year.
How long do we want this to go? How long do we want this to continue? Really, think about it, guys. And you might be sitting at home or on the bus or on whatever watching this, right? And all nodding your head. That is now not enough. You need to be grabbing a hold of people in a nice way and saying, look, do you want this to continue? If you don't want it to continue, you have to start supporting independence for Scotland. It's the only way out.
Right, let's move on. Kenny McCaskill wins Alba Party leaders race to become the second leader of the party and successor to Alex Salmond. Neil Henby also, he ran for the deputy leader up against Chris McElhenney. So with McCaskill versus Ash Regan, and for the deputy leader position we had Neil Henby up against Chris McElhenney. Anyway, Neil Henby won the deputy leader's position by 76% of the vote, 78% of the vote, believe it or not, meaning that Chris McElhenney only managed to get 22% of the popular vote within the party. Now, Ash Regan is taking Kenny McCaskill, or could be taking Kenny McCaskill to court, in the party court, for running a skew whip election. And it would appear that Chris McElhenney, who's expecting to get his membership suspended or rescinded, he's thinking about suing the party and all, saying that it was a dodgy leadership race as well.
It's like winning a wee plastic toy inside a lucky bag when you were a kid, right? Really, it's irrelevant.
Well, as we know, the party's been in turmoil for a long time with infighting and things like that. And it's not getting any better. It's not getting any better anytime soon. But the party, like most political parties at this point in time, are shedding members. And the most given reason for that is people forgetting to renew membership, and people looking at their subscription and saying, things are a bit tight. I'm not just getting rid of Netflix, I'm getting rid of my political party membership as well. So the Alpha Party is shrinking, The SNP shrinking, the Labour Party shrinking, the Tory Party shrinking. The only one that's bucking the trend is the only one that's not actually a political party, and that's Reform, where it is actually gathering subscribers. Because that's what the other no party members are subscribers. Right?
Yeah.
So they're bucking the trend, they're putting on subscribers, whereas the political parties are shedding members. And a lot of that's due to the economic conditions we live in. £12 a month to a political party to go along with feeding your kid that week.
Right. Yes.
Or heating your home that week.
Yeah.
So, as I say, McCaskill's now the new leader of the irrelevant party, and his pal who walked to player in Westminster along with him to the SNP, Neil Henry, is now the deputy leader of the party. Let's hope they can bring what's left of the party together, and we can all laugh at them getting destroyed at the next election. Okay. Right, let's move on. Finance Secretary in Scotland tells the Scottish Parliament that she cannot mitigate the latest round of austerity policies coming out of Westminster. Yesterday's announcement on disability benefits will see 480 million reduced from the Scottish budget when it comes to the carers aspect of, no, the carers aspect, the mobility aspect of the Scottish adult living allowance. Alright, so although it's no sure at this point in time whether they're going to be mitigating it or no, what we do know is that the Finance Secretary, Shona Robertson, is telling us, look, I don't think I'm going to be able to mitigate this. We're going to have to make cuts. Will she make cuts to the disability living allowance here in Scotland? Or will she make cuts elsewhere in the budget, like scrapping an infrastructure programme or something like that? That remains to be seen. But what we do know is that everything went on hold to make sure that people get fair pay rises during the cost of living crisis and the inflation surge. So I dare say that everything else will be put on on hold again in order to mitigate and keep living standards for our disabled population up.
The mobility part gives it, as far as this does from memory, about £77 a week, right? Why is it different in Scotland to what it is elsewhere, or why is it received differently? Certain parts of Scotland don't have a bus service. They don't have any kind of public transport around about. The only way to get about is if you've got a car or some kind of vehicle.
Back into the middle, David, we're losing half your head.
Yeah, and so therefore in Scotland there's a need in certain areas. In other parts of Scotland where it's on the Central Belt, wherever, not quite so much, but still I know if somebody's got a job because they've got a car, they might be disabled, but they've got a job because they've got a car. Immediately you take that car away, they don't have a job.
Right, anyway, we know there's more cuts coming in the autumn budget, so Shona's preparing us for cuts coming to the Scottish budget somewhere down the line. That doesn't mean it'll be after the disabled. She might well choose to take it from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Anyway, the most insignificant little shite in Scottish politics, the Governor General, Ian Murray, was asked about what Rachel Reeves is doing. And he said, but we give Scotland extra money this year, as if that's going to last and forever. But here's the thing, David, is you, I, and all of our viewers know, and if I ever get a grip of wee Murray, I'll lift him up his fucking half his midget arse, dang him in the air and tell him, you gave us nothing, you wee dick. We sent back up the road some of our own money. And not at all, because a lot of the tax didn't come back up, like corporation tax, VAT, and all that sort of thing. We only get 11% of the VAT back, that's paid in Scotland. So, we don't get alcohol revenues back. We don't get alcohol
tax, petrol tax, you name it. It's like, and people look at the big one is of course corporation tax, but there are so many companies that are getting away with corporation tax because of loopholes that have been created by Westminster over several different administrations. That's it, straightforward, right?
Thomas, we've covered the Dross, Stone and Dun. Dross, Stone and Dun. He's Stone and Dun because he wants to run for Westminster in 2029. And he's starting doing because he knows he's not going to get selected by the Tory party here at this point in time because of the way he did the dirty on the boy for Aberdeen.
He'll be all right. He found £28,000 on the back of that sofa. So
there'll be another couple of million quid in the back of that sofa anytime he gets short, David. You know. Right. Let's move on. Where are we? The finance sector we've covered. That wee Pratt telling us that they gave us extra money this year. They gave us nothing. They sent up some more money with somebody with rain money. Right, let's move on. David, this last story in Scotland, I don't get. I really don't. Apparently, Scottish ministers are under pressure to speed up the removal of Grenville-style cladding from buildings here in Scotland. And apparently, they'll get a pot there of 10 million quid where residents of such buildings who are contractors are refusing to put right and builders are refusing to put right can go along and ask the Scottish Government for money to get the building inspected because the contractors or the builders are denying that the cladding that's on these buildings is the type that was on Grenfell. So they're going to the Scottish Government getting money to inspect the buildings to then try and force the contractors to do something about it. But apparently it's the Scottish minister's fault and they should be doing something about it. The answer is no, it's no. What the Scottish ministers need to do is pass a law to tell these contractors and builders, if you don't get this fucking done and get it sorted, you're going to jail. Simple as that, because you're putting the people you sold properties to life in danger, and that's not acceptable. So get it sorted now, or go to fucking jail. Why the public purse is having to deal with this, I have no fucking idea whatsoever.
No, what it comes down to is, if you look at a lot of these businesses where they're actually doing cladding or whatever, they're stretching it out as far as they can. They never had such a good time. And you'd imagine the shareholders of some of these companies going, oh, it's brilliant, this is. Just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Just slow down a little bit. You'll be fine.
But I don't know what ministers in the Scottish Parliament think. This isn't that's no Westminster on there. Just legislate to tell them you're going to fucking jail unless you fix it.
Yeah.
You're endangering the public. You're endangering the people you sold these properties to.
Yeah.
Get it fucking sorted, or we're going to drag you into court and fuck you in the pokey. And by the way, then we'll seize your assets and use that to replace the cladding.
Yeah.
Under the Process of Crime. Under the Proceeds of Crime Act. Because let's face it, they did put up illegal cladding. It doesn't meet regulations, so it's illegal in the first fucking place.
Well, anything in this country, anything in Scotland that you buy has to be of merchantable quality, is the wording. That includes a house.
Yeah, that includes regulations on minimum standards of building data.
Flats, that includes anything, right?
Yeah. Aye, as I say, but you know, we have got building standards, and this stuff doesn't meet building regs.
Well, there is another route, right, where they actually take the court, right, and then they have to pay up, actually refund the building, something like that. But refund it at today's prices, not the prices that they were when they got them.
Right, let's move on to Swink's statement, David. Let's get into some of the details, all right? I'm going to bring it up. It's much easier.
You're very much going to be on your own here, because if I do it, I'm going to burst into fucking tears. Don't, all right?
Okay, here we go. 250,000 people will be immediately plunged into poverty by benefit cuts, Department of Work and Pensions analysis reveals. The government's own analysis shows that 3.2 million people will lose financial support by the end of the decade as a result of benefit cuts. Okay, around 250,000 people, including 50,000 children, will be pushed into poverty as a result of benefit cuts, the government's own analysis has revealed. The department, now there must be a law against this. Deliberately harming children is fucking illegal.
Well, no, any government has a fiduciary duty for the safekeeping and well-being of their people.
I know.
Anyway,
the Department for Work and Pensions Oh, who's this fucking legend? Speak, it's your money. Blocked. Blocked. Right. The Department of Work and Pensions, DWP, has found that 3.2 million families will lose out financially as a result of the changes, with average losses of 1,720 a year compared to inflation. This includes both current benefit claimants and people who will miss out in the future. Proposed cuts. Proposals to cut benefits include restriction of eligibility criteria for personal independence payment, freezing the health element of universal credit for current claimants, and slashing it in half for new claimants. The vast majority, 96% of families that will lose out financially, have someone with a disability in the household. The DWP's analysis has also found. Right, 1 in 5 families, 20% of those living in the UK, are living with a person with a disability, and they will lose financial support. So 20% of the population automatically made poorer. Okay, what else we got? The impact statement was published on the same day the Chancellor announced her spring statement, which is an outrage, in which she doubled down on cuts to disability benefits. The Labour Party is the party for work. Not the party of the people anymore, not the party of the worker anymore, but the party of work, which is funny because it's a contracting economy. We believe that if you can work, you should work, Reeves says. The DWP points out that 3.8 million people will also gain money, mostly through £7 per week increase to universal credit, which is an average of £420 a year per person. That's not even going to cover the fucking increase in electricity costs over the last 12 months. That's a shocker.
And there's something I've got to apologise to the viewers over, which is the other week there when we were talking about this spring statement, we're all talking as if, well, this is what we're hearing, but it's not going to be quite as bad as that. Or me, I thought it's not going to be quite as bad as that, because what will happen is, if it's not quite as bad as that, we'll all jump for joy and we'll accept what we've got, right? I was wrong. I was wrong. It's as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Paul Kissick, Chief Executive of the Joseph Brown Tea Foundation, said the Chancellor that she would not do anything to put household finances in danger. Yet the government's own assessment shows that their cuts to health-related benefits risk pushing 250,000 people into poverty, including 50,000 children. This will harm people and deepen the hardship they already face. The Chancellor also said, the world has changed, and today's announcement places the burden of that changing world on the shoulders of those least able to bear the load. With living standards for the poorest under continued assault, the government needs to protect people from harm with the same zeal it attempts to build its reputation for fiscal competence. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates that 800,000 people will lose money from their PIP as a result of the changes to the eligibility criteria. Of these, 400,000 people will lose their PIP entirely because they are not eligible for the mobility element. Additionally, 3 million people will lose money from the changes to the health element of universal credit, with cuts amounting to 500 a year for existing claimants and 3,000 a year for new claimants. So much for the £7 a week increase. As a result of a carer's allowance and the universal credit care element being connected to PIP, around 150,000 carers will also lose the financial support. This equates to cuts of 500 million from the carers' benefit bill. So it's not just the disabled, those who care for the disabled are going to lose out as well. A spokesperson for the National Children's Bureau said, many families struggling to make ends meet rely on the welfare system to stay afloat. Cuts to health benefits will only cast them further adrift. by the DWP's own admission, the combined effect of the package of welfare reforms will push tens of thousands of children deeper into poverty and will deliver harder lives and lower living standards. So if you're in work, you're valued. If you're not in work, you're no valued.
After a while of hearing about kids in poverty and all the rest of it, right, you get a bit blasé about it all, right? You don't fully get the awful situation that kids are thrust into, right? There are kids going to school without food. I'm not just talking about in Scotland, I'm talking about in England as well.
When they get to school in Scotland, David, they get a free breakfast, they get a free lunch.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that we've got to also look at the kids in England as being our responsibility at the moment as well, right?
No, I don't.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
I don't have to look at the children in England being our responsibility because they fucking struck down a law that allowed us to protect our children under law because they wanted to be able to legislate without thinking about Scottish children. So why the fuck should I think about English children at this point in time? Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah, because they're kids.
Because they're kids, that's right. But to hear that I need to, when they actually struck down a law that would have protected our children under our law and under international law, they struck that law down with a Section 35 order because they didn't want to have to consider our children while writing legislation in Westminster. Fuck them!
Yeah.
Anyway, before I end this segment and get really angry, Alison Graham, Chief Executive of the Child Poverty Action Group, said, and I've said it myself and David said it, growth and better living standards are not achieved by taking money from families with the least. That's correct because people who have got the least, they spend every single penny they have into the economy, whereas those who have got the most spend fuck all into our economy.
Yeah.
But Rachel Reeves making it clear yesterday from the podium in Westminster that the pressures of a changing world will be borne out on the shoulders of the least of us. This isn't a Labour government I recognise. This isn't a Labour Party I recognise.
That's right. I mean, I was no fan of the Labour government anyway, since certainly the referendum 2014, right? But to be honest with you, David, this is beyond anything that I've
Before I end this segment, I'm going to pop this back up, David. Because I'm going to say something on it. And
please do.
It's not going to be nice.
Hmm.
This bitch, sorry, I'm not allowed to say that, that's misogynist. This monster, when she came to power, was told that if they don't scrap the two-child cap, look at that smiling, smirking face, get that imprinted in your head, folks. They didn't cap the two. If they didn't get rid of the two-child cap, she was going to push a further 250 children into poverty per year. She kept the two-child cap. She was told by her own risk assessment that if she scrapped the winter fuel payment, pensioners would die. That smirking, smiling face who's enjoying being in the limelight while fucking swiping the feet out for under the disabled, she knew she was going to kill pensioners. She done it anyway. The risk assessment has told her that 250,000 people will be driven into poverty, including 50,000 children, if she made this change to benefits. The monster did it anyway. In the same risk assessment, it tells you that mentally ill are likely to be pushed to the edge into suicide. A fair few of them. She knew that, it was in her risk assessment, and she fucking done it anyway. That is a monster. That isn't deluded. That is deranged and dangerous.
Well, at least in other news, SAMH, the Scottish Association of Mental Health, have made all their clinics walk-in. So if you're feeling a bit woozy because of this news and the way it's hit you, you've got somewhere to go and talk about it.
Well, as I say, that folks get that image imprinted in your head. Every time you see that monster, remember, she was told that keeping the two-child cap would drive 250,000 children a year into poverty, she kept the two-child cap.
Yeah.
She was told by her own risk assessment that taking away the winter fuel payment would kill pensioners. She'd done it anyway. In her risk assessment this time, she's been told she's going to throw, in fact, by the end of the decade, 3.2 million people into poverty. And she was told that this change would see mentally ill people top themselves. And she'd done it anyway. This thing's a monster. It doesn't belong in Parliament. It belongs in bloody court. It belongs in bloody court. It belongs behind bars. But keep that image imprinted in your heads, folks. And every time you see it, if you see it in public, just say monster. It's about as polite as you can get, actually, is monster. Because remember, folks, 3 cuts, 3 risk assessments, all told her the damage she was going to do, and she'd done it anyway. Yeah. That's the definition of a vile creature to me. Now, see, Charlie Cat's got done for a wee cuddle. He must be feeling my stress. Hey, Charlie Cat. Anyway, right after it, David, what are you making this? What are you making that Darren Jones, the Rachel Reeves deputy, the chief secretary of the Treasury, going on to television to justify these cuts?
He was sorry. He was sorry that somebody else actually pulled him up with it.
Aye, but let's see the actual clip where he compared what the Labour Party are doing with taking £10 pocket money off your kids and sending them out to a Saturday job. Well, we watch it. Should be interesting, wouldn't you think? Let's get it up. Let the audience see how callous these fuckers are. Shall we? So here we go. Darren Jones, Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Here we go, Mr. Jones. Let's hear what you've got to say for yourself. Turn the volume up.
Had the impact assessment has just dropped. Now, the average loss for someone on the personal independence payment is £4,500 a year. That's significant, Darren.
I think so I've not seen the impact assessment because, as you say, it's just been published, but my understanding is what the impact assessment doesn't account for is the benefit that you get from our additional money into support for training, skills or work. So take for example, if I said to my kids, I'm going to cut your pocket money by £10 a week, but you have to go and get a Saturday job. The impact assessment on that basis would say that my kids were down £10, irrespective of how much money they get from their Saturday job. So the impact assessment.
Let me just put it. Let me put it a different way.
We don't need the rest of
it. David, can I explain something here? Right, when I first got PIP, and I did because of my disability, right. Effectively, it didn't matter if you were working. You still got the PIP based upon what you had to do, right? And so what he's talking about is absolute garbage, right? Nowadays it's called disability living allowance if you're in Scotland, right? But at one time, not so very long ago, it was called PIP, right? Personal independence payment, right?
The point he was making, David, which is an absolute, it's not a good point he was trying to make. What he was saying was, if I take a tenner off my kids, the impact assessment will say that they're £10 worse off. The impact assessment won't take into account the gains they make for getting into work. What they're forgetting is most of these people can't get any work. They'll never be in work.
No, but effectively, for his way to work, he did take £10 a week off his kids in terms of pocket money, right? They might be working already. They're working at maybe McDonald's or whatever it is, right?
That's the point. That's the point.
They're being promoted to gain an extra £10 a week to come out the same.
That's the point that Tina Chalmers is making. A lot of people who get PIP are actually in work, and it's PIP that enables them to work.
It's disability living allowance in Scotland, David.
Aye, disability living allowance in Scotland, but at the same time, we have a wider audience will understand PIP. Anyway, disability living allowance in Scotland. The money they get for the actual mobility element of it actually helps a lot of them get to work. And without that element of it, they wouldn't be able to get to work, so they'd be unemployed. That's right. So the measure is actually counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But anyway, we made Darren Jones there, eh? The point he was trying to make was that the impact assessment doesn't show you the outcome. But the outcome showed what the impact assessment tells us also is that almost 70% of these people will never be able to work.
Well, it's like the only thing he's really sorry about is the fact that his obtuse statement was blooming somebody jumped on it when that's wrong. You know what I mean?
I was pressed and later on pulled him up and they said it was in bad taste and I do apologise, it was badly thought out. I should have used a different analogy.
Yeah.
You know.
That
adult disability payment is here in Scotland.
That basically exemplifies what a lot of these department people within the Labour Party are doing. They're getting away with saying stuff that's quite frankly ridiculous. Simple as that. What's that? Phil McCracken. Do you not? These politicians might be lying to us. It's not happened to us before. Well, yeah. All right.
They're definitely lying.
Yeah.
And what they're doing to go back to the lassie for the child action charity, folks, what they're doing is economic madness. Yeah. In times when your economy is on its arse, you need the general populace to have disposable income to grow your economy. What they're doing is drawing money out. They're actually copying what the Americans are doing. They're destroying the instruments of state, actually. I played the video of Keir Starmer admitting it this morning, David. I know you wouldn't have seen it.
Hold on a second before you play that, right?
I'm not playing it. I've not got it there.
Yeah, well, it's a very, very, very basic idea when you talk about the people, normal, ordinary people. If they're given money, they go and they spend it down the local shop, they spend it here, spend it there, right? And that then gets taken out in tax, goes back to the Treasury, wherever the Treasury may be at the moment, right? Whereas if you've got rich people and you give them money, effectively that's what's happening right at this moment in time. You think about it hard. If you're a rich person and you're not paying tax, you're not paying the additional tax, you're getting richer because the poor people are getting poorer. End of story. It's economics 101. Simple as that.
Right, anyway, we're getting a wee bit pulled up on our terminology here, but I don't know that much about the benefit system. I've never been in it, really. These terms are generic to me. And PIP is not means tested. You can get PIP in Scotland or the adult disability payment. DLA was replaced by PIP. Thanks, DJ Marcy. I wouldn't know the timeline of it. I really wouldn't. And David's new to the benefit system as well.
That's right.
So if we get the terminology wrong, folks, we do apologise.
No, if PIP was replaced by DLA, disability living allowance.
The other way round. It's the adult. Something payment here in Scotland. It was mentioned a wee bit further up.
Also, there's another section of it which is for retired people who are in receipt of disability living allowance. If any of them are wanting to gain the Motability part of it, and they're already in retirement, they will not get that Motability. They won't get enough points to get the Motability part. Yeah?
Aye.
So, there you go.
It's the adult disability payment or adult something payment here in Scotland, but it's no DLA.
Yeah, it's different. It's still counted as DLA when they talk about it within the department. They talk about DLA, right? There's different sections of it depending what age you are or what category you fall into. That's all it is.
Hang on, is this one? I'm trying to understand this one. Was that Ben Dunn and Phil McCracken? No. It was Phil McCracken. And you still taking the piss out of his name. Wake up and smell the rosemary's. DJ Marty always gets some cheats. I'm sure she does. Anyway, I can see we're all having a go. Getting a go to our terminology today, David.
Yep.
Even though we've just read about all this stuff, we still fucking having to get it right. Okay. Right, where were we? Aye, so that was Darren Jones, the idiot, comparing the cuts to his children's pocket money. You couldn't make it fucking up. Right. Sir Keir Starmer has made an arse of himself in the Commons trying to meddle in Scots law. David, this one cracked me up.
Yeah, I think everybody should have seen this one, and because in actual fact, it's like for Keir Starmer to say what he said, it's wrong.
Also showed his ignorance.
Yeah.
Folks, what happened was a Labour MP stood up with a go to the SNP for no splitting the role of the Lord Advocate as being the Chief Prosecutor in Scotland, as well as being a member of Cabinet.
Yeah.
Now, this is a tradition that goes back centuries, folks.
Yeah.
Goes back, in fact, it goes back that far. It was protecting the Treaty of Union, and it's also recognised in the 1998 Scotland Act under the reserved issues under constitutional matters. Because Westminster are no stupid, they know that there are two separate constitutions here.
Yeah.
That's why they reserved our constitution to them. And they know that our constitution's caught up in our law. Anyway, the Lord Advocate's role in the Scottish Cabinet and as the Chief Prosecutor are totally separate, and they'll never go in each other's road. Because in the event that there's something that the Lord Advocate's got to deal with in the legal system, she steps away back to Cabinet and one of her secretaries step up to take that position on. And when it's the other way round, if it's a legal matter that she can't get entangled with, she'll go back to Cabinet out the road and let one of the other advocates deal with it.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's always been done. Anyway, so Starmer, he says to do I need to step in and do something about this? And the answer to Starmer is, because he obviously didn't know, is yes. Under the 1998 Scotland Act, it would take both the Scottish Parliament and the Westminster Parliament to change the role of the Lord Advocate in Scotland. It was funny as fuck to watch them making an arse of themselves. So there's Starmer berating the SNP for not having done something they can't do by themselves. Now, folks, to let you understand, the SNP have been trying to split this role since 2021. It's been out to public consultation. It is a good idea. They were talking to Alistair Union Jack about it before he get booted out of office. The wee Murray doesn't want to get involved. So you can't have a negotiation between both parliaments to change the 1998 Scotland Act if one parliament doesn't want to play.
Well, the way to put it to them, I suppose, is, well, you're not interested in Scotland at all then. So what we'll do is we'll just take our independence then, right now, in your fucking face.
Stephen's telling us there's 176 presently in chat, and on my screen there's only 6 on Facebook, actually. There you go.
Yeah, 170 on Facebook, on YouTube.
Aye. That's about the normal, David.
Yeah.
I normally clock up between 100 and 150 on the morning programme as well, which is no bad.
Yeah.
So, Starmer makes an absolute arse of himself, and so does the Labour MP, because it appears they don't understand devolution. They don't understand what's reserved and what's devolved. They have absolutely no clue.
We need to be away from these people. They don't understand our country. They don't understand our ways. They don't understand anything about Scotland because it really doesn't interest them.
That's true.
We are just a cash cow. So long as the money keeps coming, you lot can actually all walk into the sea and don't come back. We'll just
right,
keep
guys, hit the like button. I'd like to get over 100 likes on this one, please. So that moves us on to Trump and his madness, David.
Oh.
And he has a imposing of 25%
tariff
on European vehicles. What did you make of that?
We now have a company called BYD, I think they're called. We were discussing them before the show.
The Chinese electric vehicles.
Right? And seemingly there's a big car plant in Mexico that produces them, right? And the price that these things are going for is 11,000 American dollars per car. They're heavy on technology. They're as good as any one of the Teslas, right?
Yeah, right.
If you like EVs, right? And I can imagine Trump wants to do everything he can to stop these cars from getting through. You can imagine an American going down there, buying a car, right? And he's told, oh, there's 25% to pay on that, right? Yeah, fine.
He's still wants it.
When he's still worth it, of course it is. Yeah,
well,
right.
You get your mate in Mexico to buy it and then bring it up as a gift for you.
Plus the fact it's faulty. You can get replacement parts from the factory. You try and do that with fucking Teslas. No chance.
Anyway, Karen's telling us there's 117 likes on the video. That's brilliant. Let's see if we get 150. Okie dokie. No, I don't want to be greedy, of course. Yeah. So, the Trump's tariffs.
We agree. Well, my likes.
What do you call it? I mean, Trump's tariffs just keep backfiring on him. And the only people who are suffering is the American people. And it's going to be hard for Ford, isn't it? Because the Europeans are talking about putting 100% tariffs on American vehicles.
Well,
that would end Ford and any other American fucking vehicle manufacturer in Europe.
I hear good, strong resource that Vance is reciting the 25th Amendment to himself every single night because he knows that Trump is going by the by. He's
never going to make it to the end of the term. He's gone loopy. His cognitive abilities are out the fucking Monday. Right, well, we have a wee look and see what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Israel, shall we? Because we're rapidly running out of time. Right, let's go to we'll go to Israel, Gaza first, Apparently, hundreds joined Gaza's largest anti-Hamas protest since war began. Israel kills Hamas official in airstrike on Gaza hospital. They started hitting military facilities, medical facilities again. By the way, they didn't just hit a Hamas official. They took out 30 civilians while they were at it.
That's right.
The death toll is now up over 50,000. And, of course, as we know, the Houthis have just threatened to close down Israeli airspace by threatening commercial aircraft that their safety isn't guaranteed if they fly into Israeli airspace.
Well, we know that the Americans have already done several strikes.
Yemen disappeared.
We know that the Americans have done several strikes on Yemen to try and kill the Houthis, right? But looking between the two, between the USA and between the Houthis, who's got the most to lose? The Americans have.
Aye. DJ Marcy Moo brings up an important point. Shame we won't put tariffs on US. There's a reason behind that. What they're doing is they're trying to get an interim trade deal that would avoid tariffs. What have Europe said about that? They've turned around and called the UK snakes.
That's right. And I don't blame them for that. They're right.
They're right.
You know.
They're right. They're fucking snakes. They've always been snakes in the grass.
It's like Starmer. It's like any time he's got Trump on the line, I can imagine. Oh, hello, sir. How you doing, sir? 3 bags full, sir.
You're a bit like Trump as with Putin.
That's right. Yeah. That's the point.
Spilled sentence in another one.
Thanks, Phil.
The plan with Vance is to run for as president next election. Have Trump as VP pick. Vance resigns in office. Bingo. Trump third term. Listen, I don't think he'll be around. I really think it's going to be a rapid downhill. I mean, he's showing signs of rapid onset dementia like his father, and his father died after a couple of years of that. Quite rapid. So I can't see him making it to the end of the fourth term, to be honest with you, Phil. But thanks very much for your kind contributions today. It is all going to be necessary, folks, as you know. More necessary than ever. Right, and what's going on over there in Ukraine? Well, apparently they've agreed a ceasefire in the Black Sea. And Russia accused of hollow peace talks as airstrikes injured dozens.
Well, remember the Black Sea, the incident that took place in that, which was particularly bad for the Russians, was that the Ukrainians actually sent a missile and took out one of the Russian boats, one of the Russian ships. And I can imagine that, talking about that, if they're prepared to do that, they're prepared to get a ceasefire based on that, they can get a ceasefire on other things as well.
Anyway, the very latest, you remember Starmer's fucked off out the country to go and speak to European leaders about what's going on in Ukraine again because he wants to dodge a flak with Rachel Reeves crap yesterday. Anyway, UK and France to send defence chiefs to Ukraine as Starmer says Putin is playing for time. And Starmer also is demanding increased sanctions on Russia to secure peace, while Donald Trump is talking about reducing sanctions on Russia.
Dead right.
So, that could get interesting. But the whole good news about the ceasefire in the Black Sea is for agricultural products, we're able to get back out to market again, which are very important because it is driving the cost of living crisis a bit, David, you know.
Well, they're trying to get the agreement together to stop the Russians from hitting any power stations.
Right.
A lot of the power stations in Ukraine are nuclear power stations. We definitely do not want another Chernobyl.
And that was another one of these things that Trump tried to fucking levy out to the Ukrainians, actually. Give us the power stations, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's in there to steal as much and to get as much as he can, to be honest, Trump. So things are deteriorating in the Middle East, for the people of Gaza anyway, and still a stalemate on the Russian-Ukraine conflict. And the longer it stays that way, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
At some point, Trump is going to come forehead to forehead with the European Union, right?
Oh, aye.
And my money would be on the European Union.
I so would mine because the US is already weakened from all sides. He's got Mexico on one side giving him a kicking. He's got Canada on the other side giving him a kicking. He's got the people within the US giving him a kicking.
Aye.
In fact, the only thing that's dropping off at the moment is Starmer's tongue wedged up his arse.
Yeah.
You know. But that's all we've got time for the day, folks. I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it informative. I want to thank the moderators. I want to thank the community. In fact, David and I want to thank the community.
Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind couple of days for me getting up and down to Motherwell at the bank and getting much needed assistance out to our people. And
sorry guys, I haven't been on the ball today. It's purely simple. The fact that after what I read for the past 24, 48 hours, just ridiculous.
You're numb, David. I'm numb and all.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Kathy at the Coatbridge Food Bank yesterday, and we Agnes put our thank you online for us guys, you guys in the community. Kathy was telling me things are getting worse and they're about to get worse. Oh. Agnes tells me that they're doing 40 referrals a week, whereas 2 years ago they were doing 40 in 3 months. You know, and Colin at the wee mobile food bank was telling me they don't just cover Lanarkshire anymore. They told me they were covering Glasgow the last time. They're now covering Lanarkshire, Glasgow and the Lothians. So these people are doing fantastic work in our community and it's a pleasure to be able to help them. But at the same time, each and every one of them thank you guys. This community that we've built here has done great things in strengthening the community in Scotland.
We need to go further though, guys. We do need to go further. Now it's a case that you've got to be...
The way to go further is to increase the audience size, David, and to do that we need to increase the
the audience size that we have, we need those people to be talking to their friends, colleagues, relatives, and all the rest of it about independence. We need as many people supporting independence right now, not next week, not next year, now. So there you go, guys.
That's a fair statement, James. Putin was in trouble in the Black Sea, so that's probably why he has agreed to ceasefire there.
Yeah.
Bye for now, Reagan Elite. Thanks very much. We'll see you. I dare say Reagan's got a live tonight at some point, folks. Check out Reagan Elite's channel. Check out Sarosa's channel here in Scotland. Independence Live here in Scotland. I think Caledon Media's got a YouTube channel on now. And come on, get up. Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you very much.
Bob, for your food bank kitty, and hello Charlie Cat. Thanks, Hugh. Yeah, Charlie Cat's lying on the table as usual, Hugh. Hold on, I'll give you a wee view of him. There he's there. Far better looking than the pair of us, David.
I bet he didn't read the spring report, eh?
No.
Or did you make him read it?
No, he was on my lap keeping me calm while I read it. Right, that's 5 o'clock and I've got work to go to, folks. As I say, thanks to the mods, thanks to everybody who contributes. The community we've built here has built such a great community that we've actually been in a position to help the offline community, and every one of you have to be 100% proud of yourself for that.
Yes.
Every one of you. Okay.
Remember, time for independence, independence, independence. And the other one is, David?
Keep your eye on the prize. Partisan politics in your fucking pocket and get out there to your friends and neighbours. Now that's 5:01. I need to get to work, guys. I'll see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow, at 10:30 tomorrow morning for the last one of the week. I've got a fair idea what the headlines are going to be now. And you never know, every weekend there might be a wee impromptu live and a Q&A or something like that. I might even invite you, Mulligan. Hey,
another one year, by the way, we're online.
Aye, one of these ones. I've not done one of them for a while, David.
Right.
Oh, but 100 people watching. Right, guys. Bye.
Bye, David.
Later, guys. Look after yourselves. Bye. See you in the morning. Don't be late. You're going to the fucking naughty step.